Good morning, dear students. A warm welcome to all of you for our today's digital session for the subject Science and Technology Section A. In our previous session, we have started with the discussion of textual activities for chapter number 2, Periodic Classification of Elements. Today, we are going to complete with the discussion of all the activities, and in the next session, we will be starting with a new chapter. Hence, I request you all in the beginning to sit with the textbooks in your hands because page wise I will be discussing the activities with you. So first we begin with page number 16. On page number 16 we have already completed the activities. Can you recall I had just discussed with you what are the type of elements, what are the type of matter. Can you tell Dobrynin's triad, all the three were discussed. Page number 17 and 18 if you see there are no activities. Page number 19, use your brain power. Towards the end of the page you have the activity. Chlorine has two isotopes, chlorine 35 and chlorine 37. Their atomic masses are 35 and 37 respectively. Chemical properties are same. Where should this be placed in Mendeleev's periodic table? In different places or in the same place? This we have already discussed. Let us just revise it. Now you all know that Mendeleev's periodic table, it is based on the concept that elements are placed in an increasing order of atomic masses. So you can clearly see here, chlorine has two isotopes whose atomic masses are different, and hence in Mendeleev's periodic table they should be given not the same place but different places. So this should be our first point. As the atomic masses of the isotopes of chlorine are 35 and 37, they should be kept in different places in Mendeleev's periodic table. Now in short you have to state why they should be given different places, because Mendeleev's periodic table is based on atomic mass and he has arranged the elements in increasing order of atomic mass. Since the elements are placed in the increasing order of atomic mass, when the atomic masses of both the isotopes are different, they should be kept in different places, even though the chemical properties of chlorine are the same. I hope you have understood very simple application of the concept whatever you have studied in Mendeleev's periodic table. Page number 20 we are not going to do any activities. Page number 21 are the very important activities from board exam point of view if there is no reduction in syllabus. Page number 21, keep the textbook open because questions being very lengthy. I have not copied the questions. Use your brain power. Yellow colored block in the center of the page. The first question is, how is the problem regarding the position of cobalt and nickel in Mendeleev's periodic table resolved in modern periodic table? You know that the flaw of the placement of cobalt and nickel, the whole number atomic mass of cobalt and nickel was the same. Hence, there was really a confusion regarding their sequence in Mendeleev's periodic table. So, how it was solved in modern periodic table? So, your first statement should state what Mendeleev's periodic table is based on and what modern periodic table is based on. So, your first statement says, in Mendeleev's periodic table, the elements are arranged in increasing order of their atomic masses, whereas in modern periodic table, elements are arranged in increasing order of their atomic numbers. This is your first explanation. In the next point, you should find out what was the actual problem. In Mendeleev's periodic table, when cobalt and nickel were placed in group, according to their chemical properties, it was observed that cobalt with higher atomic mass 58.9 is placed before nickel with lower atomic mass 58.7. Now, when the elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic masses, then this placement is totally wrong. It did not fully obey Mendeleev's periodic law. Cobalt with higher atomic mass, it was placed before nickel with lower atomic mass. Now, how this problem was solved in modern periodic table? You know that modern periodic table is based on atomic number, and each and every element has its own atomic number, its unique atomic number, like you have your roll numbers. So there is no confusion. The one with lower atomic number will come first, and the one with higher atomic number will come next. So when placed in modern periodic table, cobalt with atomic number 27 will come first before nickel with atomic number 28, even if their atomic masses are in reverse order. Means what? Even if the atomic mass of cobalt is higher than nickel, but cobalt has atomic number 27, which is lower than nickel, and hence cobalt will come first and then nickel. So this problem in Mendeleev's periodic table was automatically solved in modern periodic table because its concept is that elements are arranged in increasing order of atomic numbers, and each and every element has its own unique atomic number. Thus, the problem is solved in modern periodic table as it is based on atomic number. Now, this is the explanation which I have formulated and given to you. You can apply your own logic and you can write it in your own words also. Next question on the same page, page number 21. How did the position of 3517 chlorine and 3717 chlorine get fixed in the modern periodic table? How their position got fixed? You know that the modern periodic table is based on atomic numbers. So the position of isotopes of elements is decided by placing the elements in increasing order of their atomic numbers. So isotopes of elements, they have the same atomic number, so no different positions have to be given to them. We had seen in Mendeleev's periodic table, if the isotopes of the elements were having different atomic masses, they were given different positions. But here, as the modern periodic table is based on atomic number, the isotopes of elements, they are the atoms of the same element. So they have the same atomic number. So no different positions have to be given to them. Number 3 on the same page. Can there be an element with atomic mass 53 or 54 in between the two elements chromium having atomic number 52, atomic mass 52 and 24, and manganese 55, 25. Here you can see they have asked us, will there be an element with atomic mass 53 or 54 in between chromium and manganese? Surely no. Why no? Because you can see that chromium has atomic number 24 and manganese has atomic number 25. So the atomic numbers are in continuation. So there will be no such element with atomic mass 53 or 54 in between chromium and manganese. Roll number 11 is allotted. Roll number 12 is allotted. Then if the numbers are in continuation, no number of the student will be there between 11 and 12. So there is no possibility of any element between chromium and manganese as the atomic numbers are one after the other. Chromium 24, manganese 25. You can see in the question they have given. On the top it is A, AZ means A is atomic mass. So 52 is the atomic mass, 24 is the atomic number for chromium. For manganese, 55 is the atomic mass, 25 is the atomic number. And as the atomic numbers 24 and 25 are one after the other, there is no possibility of an element between chromium and manganese. See how you have to apply the concept. Fourth one I have not mentioned here in the slide. It is very simple. They have asked us, what do you think? Should hydrogen be placed in the group 17 of halogens or group 1 of alkali metals? It is very simple. Hydrogen should be placed in group 1. Why? Because it is the hydrogen's tendency to donate. It can easily donate one electron and form a stable cation instead of accepting one electron and forming an anion. So when it is donating one electron, it is best suited in group 1. With this, we complete the activities on page number 21. Page number 22 and 23, we have already discussed the activities. We will just go through them quickly. Page number 22. Can you tell very important activities? Go through the modern periodic table and write the names one below the other of the elements of group 1. Now in the exam you don't have the modern periodic table with you. So question number 1 such type of question may not be asked. But the electronic configurations, similarity in the configurations, that part can be asked. Now on page number 23 in the textbook in front of you, you have the modern periodic table. So one below the other you can write the names of elements of group 1, which begins with hydrogen, H, followed by lithium, Li, sodium, Na, potassium, K, rubidium, Rb, cesium, Cs, and francium, Fr. So these are the names of the elements of group 1. Next is write the electronic configuration of the first 4 elements in this group. So the first 4 elements are hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium. You have to write the electronic configuration. For that you should know the atomic numbers. You know the atomic number of hydrogen is 1. So electronic configuration will be 1. Lithium is 3. So 2 in the first shell, 1 in the second shell. Sodium 11. So 2, 8, 1. And potassium is 19. So 2, 8, 8, 1. Always while writing the electronic configuration, see that the number of electrons in each shell is separated by a comma. Otherwise you will get a full 0 if you leave just a gap in between. Next, third question. Which similarity do you find in their configuration? What similarity you can see here? You can see that in the outermost shell of each element there is only one valence electron. So that is the similarity. All these elements contain one electron in their outermost shell. Next, how many valence electrons are there in each of these elements? One valence electron. Just now you have seen that in each of this element there is one valence electron in the outermost shell. A very simple activity. Page number 23 also you have one more activity. Can you tell, which we have already discussed? Let us go through it. On going through the modern periodic table, it is seen that the elements lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine and neon belong to period 2. Look in the modern periodic table which you have in front of you on page number 23. All these elements belong to the second period. Write down the electronic configuration of all of them. Immediately you should know the atomic numbers. I have told you in the previous session also, at least up till 20, that is calcium, you should know the electronic configurations. So lithium, the first one, atomic number 3, 2, 1, beryllium 4, 2, 2, boron 5, 2, 3, carbon 6, 2, 4, nitrogen 7, 2, 5, oxygen 8, 2, 6, fluorine 9, 2, 7, neon 10, 2, 8. Now here if you go through, you will find that the number of valence electrons for each element is different. Whereas in the case of the previous activity, the valence electron in each of the element was 1, which was same. Then what similarity you can see here? Each and every element has only 2 shells and hence they belong to the second period, because you know the shell number indicates the period number. So let us look at the next question. Is the number of valence electrons same for these elements? Surely no. The number of valence electrons for each element is different. Is the number of shells the same in this case? Yes. Each element has 2 shells, due to which they are placed in the second period. I hope you have understood the activities up to page number 23. Hopefully there is a circular which is circulating regarding the reduction in syllabus due to the pandemic. So last year all these activities were deleted as the reduction in syllabus. So till today we are not very much confirmed. We have not got any official, you can say, information from the education department, because the circular which is roaming is of the last year's academic date 2020-21. So once we get the surety, many schools have started giving it to the students. Once we get the confirmation through the video or through the live session, we will immediately inform you about the reduction in syllabus. Till then, whatever syllabus is there, as I have told you, if we learn something extra, it will not go waste. Just considering that there is reduction in syllabus, we cannot skip it off. So if you are learning something extra, it will be some additional knowledge with you. If we get the reduction ahead, we will just skip off these activities. It will not be asked in the board exam. Now let us move towards the next activity on page number 24. Page number 24. Can you recall? This also we have done last time, so we will go through it quickly. What are the values of n for the shells K, L and M? You know, K is the first shell, so n is 1. L is the second shell, so value is 2. And for the M shell, the value is 3. What is the value of n they have asked? So you have to mention the value. N means the number of shells. So K is the first shell. So value is 1. For the L shell, it is 2. And M shell, the value is 3. What is the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in a shell? Write the formula. You know that the number of electrons, the maximum capacity is denoted by the formula 2n square, where n is the shell number. So formula is 2n square. So the maximum capacity of K shell is 2 electrons, because K is the first shell. So n is 1. So 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 1 comes out to 2. For the second shell, L shell, it is 8, because n is 2. So 2 multiplied by 2, 4, 4 2s are 8. Similarly, M is the third shell and N is the fourth shell. So for the third shell, maximum capacity is 18, and fourth shell, it is 32 electrons, which is derived by the formula 2n square. And I have told you in the same activity, question number 3, deduce the maximum electron capacity of the shells K, L and M. Answer is the same. On the same page, towards the bottom, you have one activity. Think about it. What is the relationship between the electronic configuration of an element and its valency? Surely, you know, in the last year you have studied valency is the combining capacity of an element. From the electronic configuration, you come to know about the number of electrons, the number of valence electrons in the outermost shell, and from it you come to know how much electrons are going to be donated, shared or accepted, and then valency will be determined. So your first statement should be, electronic configuration of an element helps us to determine the number of valence electrons in its outermost shell. By writing the electronic configuration, you come to know about the number of valence electrons. Valency of an element is determined by the number of electrons present in the outermost shell of its atoms, that is the valence electrons. This also I had cleared with you last time. Many a time students have the habit of writing valency of an element is the number of electrons present. Very wrong. Valency of an element is not the number of electrons in the outermost shell, but it is determined. For example, the case of carbon having atomic number 8, the electronic configuration is 2, 6. Means 6 is not its valency. 6 determines that 2 electrons are going to be accepted and 2 is the valency. So it is not the number of electrons in the outermost shell, but it is determined by the number of electrons in the outermost shell. It helps us to find out how many electrons it has to lose, gain or share to complete its outermost shell. This is the relationship between the electronic configuration of an element and its valency. This we have already discussed last time. The next activity, same, page number 24. Think about it. The atomic number of beryllium is 4 while that of oxygen is 8. Write down the electronic configuration of the two and deduce their valency from the same. First write the electronic configuration. Beryllium 4, 2, 2, oxygen 8, 2, 6. Now beryllium has 2 electrons in the outermost shell which it will donate to become stable. So valency of beryllium is 2, and oxygen has 6 electrons in its outermost shell. To become stable, it will not donate 6 electrons, rather it will accept 2 electrons, and so valency of oxygen is 8 minus 6, that is 2. Why 8 minus 6? Because you know, for the second shell to become stable, 8 electrons are necessary. I hope up till here you have followed. Now we go to the most important activities from the board examination point of view on page number 25. Use your brain power. 2 use your brain powers are there, and in March 2020 one of it was asked for 5 marks. So very important. The table is there ahead of you on page number 25. Element and atomic radius in picometers. Oxygen 66, boron 88, carbon 77, nitrogen 74, beryllium 111, lithium 152. Based on this table, we are going to answer the questions in the yellow block. By referring to the modern periodic table, find out the periods to which the above elements belong. You should know, looking at the simpler ones, oxygen, carbon, that these elements belong to the second period. Keep the periodic table open on page number 23 if you want to. So the answer is the above elements belong to the second period. Next question is, arrange the above elements in a decreasing order of their atomic radii. Decreasing means descending, ascending, which you have studied in the lower standards. So decreasing order mein batana hai, so the highest one will come first. So first will be lithium. With atomic radii you have to write a lithium 152, followed by beryllium 111, then boron 88, then carbon, then nitrogen and oxygen. So lithium, then beryllium, then boron, then carbon, then nitrogen, oxygen. You can write it in the vertical way also, anyway, but while you are writing, compulsorily you have to mention its atomic radii. Next, question number 3. Does this arrangement match with the pattern of the second period of the modern periodic table? Which arrangement? The arrangement which you have made just now, this arrangement. They have asking us whether this arrangement is matching with the modern periodic tables arrangement. Yes. You can see there on page number 23, it is starting with lithium, then beryllium, then boron. So your answer is yes. This arrangement, after you have changed, it is matching with the pattern of second period. Fourth one, which of the above elements have the biggest and the smallest atom? You have arranged in the descending order. So the first one is the element with the biggest atom, that is lithium, and last one, oxygen, is the element with the smallest atom. What is the periodic trend observed in the variation of atomic radius? You can see while going from left to right, atomic radius goes on decreasing. Here you can see over here, atomic radius 152, then 111, then 88, means the atomic radius is going on decreasing as you move from left to right within a period. That is the answer to your fifth question. Atomic radius decreases as we go from left to right within a period. Such simple answers, but it had been asked in the board exam for 5 marks. So you should be thorough with it. Same type of activity, page number 25, you can see again the table is given with elements name and atomic radius. Potassium, sodium, rubidium, cesium, lithium, 281, 231, 186, 244, 262, 152. Now keep the table open in front of you. The first question asked is, by referring to the modern periodic table, find out the groups to which the above elements belong. If you refer the modern periodic table, they belong to first group, that is group 1. Second question, arrange the above elements vertically downwards in the increasing order of atomic radii. In the previous activity, it was in the decreasing order of atomic radii. So increasing order means the lower one will come first. So first will be lithium 152, second sodium 186, potassium 231, rubidium 244 and cesium 262. See, now here it is in the increasing order. So the lower one will come first and followed by the higher ones. Third one, again they are asking us, does this arrangement match with the pattern of group 1 of the periodic table? So after the arrangement, you can see, if you refer the periodic table on page number 23, it is matching. So the answer is yes. Fourth one, which of the above elements have the biggest and smallest atom? Now here the one who is having the biggest atom is cesium with atomic radii 262, and the smallest one is lithium with atomic radius 231. What is the periodic trend observed in the variation of atomic radii down a group? If you go down a group, you can see that atomic radius is increasing as you go down a group, as the number of shells are added one at a time. I hope both these activities, which are extremely important from the examination point of view, are understood by you and you do not have any type of confusion. I will just go through the above slides. Just go through it. If any of the point you have not followed, both the activities on page number 25 I am keeping open. The first activity, they have given about the element atomic radius are given. They have asked which period they belong. They belong to the second period. Then we have arranged the elements in the decreasing order, which starts from lithium and ends on oxygen. The third one they have asked, does this arrangement match with the pattern of second period? Yes, it is matching. Fourth question, which is the biggest and the smallest atom? The first one, lithium, is biggest with 152 and oxygen smallest. What is the periodic trend observed while going from left to right? We can see that the atomic radius decreases as we go from left to right. Next activity, they have asked which groups they belong to. We have seen that they belong to group 1. Arrange the above elements vertically downwards in the increasing order. Increasing means the lower one will come first. That is lithium 152, followed by sodium 186, potassium 231, rubidium 244 and cesium 262. Third, they have asked, does this arrangement match with the pattern of the group 1? Yes, it is matching. Fourth one, smallest and the biggest atom. Biggest is cesium and lithium is the smallest atom. And periodic trend observed in the variation of atomic radii, it goes on increasing down a group as the number of shells are added one at a time. Now the activity on page number 26. Use your brain power. First one, they have given, look at the elements of the third period and classify them into metals and non-metals. All of you refer page number 23, modern periodic table, third period, which starts from lithium. You have to classify them into metals and non-metals. So if you look carefully, then third period, which starts from sodium, magnesium and aluminium are metals. Fourth one, you can see there is silicon, which is a metalloid, so it cannot be placed under metals or non-metals. And phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine and argon are non-metals. You have studied that metals lie on the extreme left and non-metals on the right side of the period. So sodium, magnesium, aluminium are metals. Phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon are non-metals. See, from this questions what you come to know, at least up to calcium, you should know which elements fall under which group, which elements fall under which period. On which side of the period are the metals, left or right? Very simple. If you look at the periodic table in your textbook, metals are on the extreme left. And the third question, on which side of the period did you find the non-metals? You find the non-metals on the right hand side. Last activity for you on page number 27. Use your brain power. What is the cause of non-metallic character of elements? Very simple. When an element shows tendency to accept or share electrons and forms a negative charge, they are said to be electronegative, and non-metals are electronegative in nature. Very simple. Second, What is the expected trend in the variation of non-metallic character of elements from left to right in a period? You know, non-metallic character, it increases as you go from left to right in a period. Very simple. And the third, what would be the expected trend in the variation of non-metallic character of elements down a group? What happens? The non-metallic character, it decreases as we move down a group. For this, the concept of metallic non-metallic character, that is the periodic trend, should be well known by you, well understood by you. Then only such type of questions you will be able to answer. With this, I declare that entire chapter number 2 in all terms, that is explanation, discussion of textual and additional questions, and all the textual activities are discussed from my side. Nothing I have left. And in our next session, I am going to start with a new chapter, chapter number 3, chemical reactions and equations. So I request all of you, dear children, before attending the next session, at least go through the chapter, at least 4 to 5 pages you go through it. So when you will attend the session, the concepts will not be very new to you and you will understand it in a better way. All of you know your portion for the first online assessment, chapter number 1, gravitation, and chapter number 10, space missions. I wish you all a best of luck for your preparations for the exam. And even though it is a multiple choice questions exam which is taken from the school side, take it as in a very challenging way and prepare yourselves not only with the MCQs but a small paper you can set from your side which includes the theoretical questions also, and try to write it without seeing. Judge it yourselves, correct it yourselves. You will come to know where you stand, because you are going to attend the board exams, board theory exams, where there will be no such type of considerations. You have to attempt the entire theory paper of 40 marks, for which your preparations should begin from now. Okay, so see to it that your notebooks are also well completed in time, so that studying will be easier for you. At the same time, keep yourselves safe by staying at home and not moving out of the houses for unwanted reasons. Thank you, dear children.